Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. My name is Leanne, and I am here with the lovely Kelli Fox from Astrology.tv. And today we are talking about the love planet. So Venus has been retrograde over the past, a couple of months, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's finally going direct again. And it's going direct. I know there's something going on with Mars. Venus is going direct in Gemini, which is all about social. So that's exciting news, I think, for a lot of us. And so I'm so excited to have you here today with us, Kelli, to let us know what's going on and how can we make the most of this.
Hi, Leanne, and hi, everyone. And I'm just looking at the comment from the Perceptive Psychic. And yes, post-shadow, there's not a specific date, though, for post-shadow. Venus has been retrograde for the past 6 weeks. And anytime a planet is turning retrograde or coming out of retrograde, there is a shadow period. It's sort of like a wind down. So, yes, thank you for that reminder there. But yes, Venus is officially not retrograde. So we say that it's direct, and Venus is a planet of love and money, basically, and friendships and socializing, especially since Venus has been in Gemini. Now, Venus has been in Gemini since April. And so what that means is normally without, all these external conditions that we're all dealing with, but normally it's a very sociable influence, a very sociable planet. It's like reaching out to others. We can certainly all do that online. There's nothing stopping us there. Hence, look where we are on Facebook. So we're all making those connections. But that's typically what Venus in Gemini is all about. And so it turned direct yesterday, or depending on where you are in the world, yesterday, today, put it that way. But it's now officially direct. So we should start, connections and relationships should start ramping up in a good way, especially if you are a mutable sign, and the mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So things should start improving. But there's always a but with astrology, of course, like this disclaimer that we do have Mercury retrograde right now. So Mercury just moved retrograde. If anybody saw the show last week, I talked all about how Mercury retrograde affects your Zodiac sign. And so, we are in this Mercury retrograde period. So what that means is that even though connections with others can start to move forward and we can sort of connect on that level that so many of us are looking for, that take care still with communication because Mercury is retrograde. And so what I also want to do on the show is talk about Mars. And on Saturday, Mars is moving into Aries. And this is great news. And it's great news for our, wanting to take action steps forward. There is also a disclaimer on that one, which I'm going to talk about. And I'm also going to talk about how Mars in Aries during this extra long Mars in Aries cycle will be affecting every zodiac sign.
Okay, now before you talk about that, I just want to share that for everyone who's listening, Kelli is actually providing a free romantic forecast today. And you can get that. Well, I'm going to actually post. It's in the link. It's already in the bio. And then I'm going to post this live on the screen. But before we dive into Mars, I just want to make sure that everybody knows, go get your free romantic forecast. I know for me, I'm ready to have more of a social life and love life. So let's get it going. I'm just going to put that out there into the world. It's been a really interesting time to be, at home alone. So I'm very excited for this period that's to come. And I'm very curious to learn more about what Mars is going to be up to.
So Mars is, I'm just thinking, where do I start with this one? So Mars is the planet of action. Mars represents our passions, our desires, our ambitions, our courage. Mars rules Aries and it's the co-ruler of Scorpio. So what that means is that when a planet moves into one of its favorite signs, the energy is really strong. And this is especially if you're a fire sign, and that's Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. So what that means is that, we've all been wanting to sort of, move on with our lives. And so Mars will actually allow so many of us to be able to do that. But as I said, there's a disclaimer. And in September, we have Mars turning retrograde. Now, when the inner planets, and that's Mercury, Venus, and Mars, turn retrograde, it's much more of a big deal than when the outer planets turn retrograde. And that's because the outer planets are retrograde about half the amount of time. What do I mean by retrograde, actually, is that's another question. So it's like retrograde means that the energy of the planet goes backwards. And technically, the planets don't move backwards. They just appear to be moving backwards from our perspective here on Earth. They go at various speeds in their orbit around the sun. And so when they're retrograde, they go really, really slow. So it looks like they are going backwards, but really they're not. But the energy or the interpretation of a retrograde planet means it's not just potentially going backwards, but it's something from the past. So we always have to review something from the past when a planet turns retrograde. That's really like 101 with retrograde interpretation. I just also have to say I've got a really great, and I don't have the link for it, but on astrology.tv, I've got this whole lot of information about retrograde planets and a retrograde calendar. So I have to make a note of that. So next time I'm talking about retrogrades, I will certainly share that link.
Sounds great.
So when Mars is in Aries, it's very much a go, 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 go type of energy. We're impatient. We just want to, move ahead really, really fast. And Mars in Aries is one of those placements of the brave, courageous warrior. So we can fight any battle. I'm trying to think of the word. What do they say for Superman? What's that word that they say with Superman? It's sort of indestructible. The words were escaping me. So because it is Mercury retrograde, I'm going to blame Mercury retrograde on that one. So it's like,
remember the word, the
we're feeling indestructible when Mars is in Aries. And so the thing, though, is when Mars moves into Aries on Saturday, it's going to be getting closer and closer to that Mercury retrograde. So that's just a little tidbit to put in the back of our minds, especially if you're a cardinal sign, and the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So just know that on Saturday, when brave Mars moves into its favorite sign of Aries, that we're just raring to go in whatever direction that might be, especially new directions, because we are still in eclipse season, and we just recently had a solar eclipse on the solstice. That was on Sunday. So it's all about new beginnings and new directions. Mars in Aries really, really, really helps with that, to be able to take that step into our future.
Well, that's nice.
Yes, definitely.
They're complementary, and they support each other, these planets.
Absolutely, they do. And so what that means, though, is there's going to be this big build up, and we're all sort of all fiery and fired up and ready to take on anything. We're indestructible. But with the retrograde of Mars in September, I'm just looking at my book here, September, October, and through mid-November, we might have to be very careful at this time, particularly the first half of July, when Mars in Aries is forming a very challenging square to the Mercury retrograde. So in other words, what that means is be very careful about what you say, now through mid-July. And as I said, especially if you're a cardinal sign, or you have any planets in cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, just be very careful, because your words now, you might have to defend in some ways during the Northern Hemisphere's fall time, September, October, November. So just be careful with your words, because this Mars energy, Mars in Aries, is very much, like we just dive in at the deep end, and we don't really think strategically. There's no caution. It's like the anti-caution. I can't think of another word for that. I'm blaming Mercury retrograde again, Leanne. It's like, words are escaping me right now.
Do you know what comes to mind when you're saying, like, watch what you're saying? I'm like, before we say things, let's review Let's revise.
Yes, thank you. And, Leanne,
with Mercury retrograde, I'm learning.
you'll like this one. And thank you for the reminder, the RE. So it's like just take care, because, and also any new initiatives or anything new that we take on, we might find that during September, October, November that we're reviewing or redoing or re-editing with that Mars retrograde starting mid-September. So, it's good to dive into new things, especially, with what's going on in the world. We've all been in sort of hermit mode, and now it's time to sort of, and I want to say slowly, baby steps, because we might find that if we're just leaping into things, the repercussions come about September, October, November. So Mars in Aries is a very, as I said, it's a very brave, courageous warrior. It can be very vigilant though sometimes, so we've got to be careful with that. And also, as I said, it's like, what did I say a few weeks ago, that saying? Where angels fear to tread. It's that sort of thing. But what's the first part of that quote? Anyway,
I wish I was.
So it's like the Mars in Aries is like the traditional knight in shining armor coming to rescue us, and that could be someone else or that could be us, depending on where this energy falls in your natal birth chart. And so just going back to Venus in Gemini, so when you put these two energies together, they get along very well, because, Venus is the very love and romance, and then Mars is passion and desire. And so Venus is the feminine, Mars is the masculine energy, and that's why they're known as the relationship planets. Now, because Venus is in Gemini and Mars is in Aries, they get on well, they get on very well. So at this time, relationships can finally start to move forward. But again, the reminder, Mercury is retrograde and we are in eclipse season. And just something else to throw on that fire is on Monday we had nebulous Neptune turning retrograde. So again, it's Neptune is an outer planet, so we've got Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. They're the outer planets according to astrologers. And it's not normally a big deal, but given everything else that's going on at this time, astrologers are looking at everything and sort of putting those puzzle pieces together to sort of give us the bigger picture. So with Neptune just turned retrograde on Monday, it's very much about things are not as they seem. There might be a little bit of confusion. And remember the rule of retrograde, it's like look to the past. So look to the past to see, to look back and see how you trusted your instincts, or how you used your creativity, or how you tapped into something much bigger than yourself. And that's what many of us are doing at this time anyway. So it's like reviewing something from the past is very prominent. And just to throw something else in there, Leanne, and I will talk about it next week, is on the 1st, which is Wednesday, if you can believe that, July 1st, we've got karmic Saturn retrograding back into Capricorn. But I think I'll save that for next week, because I'm sort of getting off track here.
Let's talk about that next week. I know there's a lot going on.
Yes, I know.
There's an eclipse, and July 1st for all the Canadians out there, for people, it's Canada Day. So it's interesting that we have a retrograde going on, national holiday.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So Mars in Aries is a very daring energy. It's very competitive. It's very fearless. As I said, it can be a little bit reckless, but let's just talk about the good stuff, okay, for right now. It's very brave. We need a lot of bravery at the moment. But let's not do it in sort of like a foolhardy, reckless way. Let's not get caught up with any sort of risk taking, because that will be there. And as I say again, just a little word of caution to the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, about that risk taking or any sort of dangerous bravado. Because Mars in Aries is a very, very, very fast moving energy. So there's usually like little time to weigh up the pros and cons. We're going to be a lot of us will be taking action decisively and instinctively. So this, just remember, this is warrior energy at its finest. So it's highly passionate, and when it comes to relationships, we're ardent and we're expressive, regardless of that Mercury retrograde, and expressive because Venus is in Gemini, and Gemini being an air sign, the other air signs, Libra and Aquarius, it's a very articulate energy. So there is a bit of a balance there with the Mercury retrograde and then this Venus in Gemini energy. So it's like, we can be extremely expressive when it comes to our relationships. So with Mars in Aries and Venus in Gemini, it's a very expressive energy. It's very passionate. And I don't just mean physically passionate. I mean like whatever we are passionate about in our life. It's like so many of us have been cooped up, and now it's sort of like the spring is going to spring. I was trying to say the spring will sprung, but that doesn't make sense either.
Well, when it will have sprung, it will have been a big sprung.
Thank you for that. Yes. So I want to go through what it means for each of the zodiac signs with this highly charged relationship energy that's going on for us at the moment. And just one more word on that. July 4th and 5th, the week that's next weekend, we've got our final lunar eclipse of this eclipse season. So that also emphasizes and highlights relationships at this time, because typically, full moons that happen every month, and this lunar eclipse is a supercharged full moon. It's always about relationships, regardless of when and what sign and whatever else is involved. It's always about relationships. So here are all this relationship energy that we have right now.
There's a lot. It's exciting.
There is. So if you're an Aries, well, this is great news, because your Mars is your ruling planet. So Mars moves into your sign and you are on fire. There's no stopping you. You're energetic, forceful, dynamic, ambition. You're on a mission to get what you want. You've been locked up for too long, cooped up, and now it's like that. This is like the spring has sprung. That's who I was thinking about when I was saying it. So for Aries, it's a very productive period. Now, again, I'm saying all this with just keep in mind September, October, November, Mars will be retrograde. But right now, it's like there's no stopping you. It's very good for your career, especially now with Venus moving forward. It's great for your personal life. Although the only little thing there I've got to throw in is tone it down a little bit, because there's a lot of people who can't handle that sort of energy. So it's sort of like just be a little bit mindful. The other thing for Aries, this is a fantastic time for competition of some sort. And I mean friendly competition. There's no other sort, right, Leanne? So, and if you're a Taurus, well, your ruling planet is Venus. So this is excellent news for Taurus, because your ruling planet is now moving forward. So, since mid-May, Venus has been retrograde. So for Taurus and Libra and Gemini, because, Venus also rules Libra, it rules Taurus and Libra, and Venus has been in Gemini. So it's like for those three signs in particular, or anybody that has planets in those three signs, relationships might have been a little bit challenging. And I don't just mean your personal relationship, I mean like relationships generally. Now is the time where things can move forward and we can resolve things. So if you're a Taurus, for you with this energy, this is really good news about your values with Venus moving forward, your values and your money and your possessions. And also with Mars there, it's sort of like this is the time to sort of incorporate a spiritual practice into your daily routine. If you're a Taurus, this is a time when you can really tap into something much higher or much bigger than yourself and get those answers, that are right for you, and which direction are you headed, and so on and so on. If you're a Gemini, this is excellent news. I mean, it's excellent news for all the signs, but if you're a Gemini, this is about, you know, Venus, love planet Venus is in Gemini, and now it's moving forward. So this is a great time to connect socially with so many people. You know, Gemini is a very social sign. Gemini is a sign that has lots of friends, online, offline, whatever that might be. And this is a time to reach out to other people. Join groups of like-minded people is going to be really important for you. And then with, and again, that is supported by the Mars moving into Aries as well. So, you know, and Gemini is very good at multitasking, and this is what's going to be called of you with these energies, not just with your relationships, but with your social connections. And that for Gemini is music to the ears, because Gemini is a very social sign that is one of the networking signs. Now, if you are a Cancer the crab, so for you, this is about your career ambitions. So this is very much about this is very much about wanting to take charge and move fast and forward in your career. This is a fantastic opportunity to make the most of your skills and talents. You're not going to be afraid to sell yourself or sell what you do during this time period when Mars is in Aries. But just be careful that you just don't dive into something, Cancer the crab, without, you know, thinking through something strategically. You know, Cancer is a cardinal sign. And so what that means is sometimes you're not thinking long-term or strategically, you're just tackling something that's right in front of you. And of course, this year we've all been doing that. That's nothing different. But what it's calling upon you to do, Cancer, is to really think through what you want for the long term. Now, for Leo, what's happening with Leo is with Venus moving into Gemini and Mars into Aries. Again, it's this social connection, but just be open to what other people can teach you at this time. Now, Leo might have itchy feet with this Mars in Aries transit. So it's important to you know, to sort of channel the energy of Mars in Aries into very much like increasing your skill set or broadening your perspective on life or your own situation. It's like look out to maybe foreign places or foreign people that can help you see something from a different point of view. It's going to be very important, particularly September, October, November, when Mars is retrograde. If you can sign up for a course of study to increase your skills, or even just do it for fun, you know, just do something on the side there. That's a really, really great use of this energy for Leo. And the other thing for Leo is just try not to be too dogmatic or set in your ways during this period. So basically now through the end of the year when Mars is in Aries. If you are a Virgo, so for you, this is an interesting time because Virgo is the sign of perfection. And so this is what Virgo strives to achieve a lot. So what's going to help Virgo tremendously while Mars is in Aries through the end of the year is self-mastery and self-improvement. So this is like, again, this is music to Virgo's ears because Virgo's not afraid to examine their own faults, you know, like, and to work on them and keep improving and just get better and better and better because, as I said, Virgo is a sign of perfection. So this is a time for Virgo to drop any bad habits that are no longer working for you because Virgo is the sign of health, diet, and fitness. And so this is a fantastic time to just sort of dive into it. You know, with the Mars in Aries energy, just dive straight in. And, you know, if there is a bit of a relapse, the RE, remember, when Mars is retrograde, September, October, November, that's okay. You know, it's okay. It's like you'll pick the game up again, you know, December through 2021. So it's a great time for Virgo to let go of anything that's no longer working for you. Now, yes. And with Libra, for you, this is interesting energy, Libra, because Libra is the sign of relationships. And so your ruling planet Venus just turned direct, so it's no longer retrograde. And then you've got Mars in Aries, which is in your zone of relationships. So there's a lot of emphasis for Libra right now on relationships. And so what that means is that there's a lot of passion there. And just remember that passion, there's a shadow side to passion, particularly September, October, November, when Mars does turn retrograde. So for Libra, it's all about moving forward, because Libra is a cardinal sign. So Libra loves to start new things. And so it's all about moving forward. And if you're single and you're Libra, this is a great time for you to really sort of reach out to other people, not even romantically, but just friendship wise or whatever that is. So it's like, if you are single, there could be some intense, irresistible energy around starting a relationship. So there could be a lot of magic there if you're in a current relationship on rekindling that magic. If you are a Scorpio with Mars moving into Aries, it's good for you because, Mars is your co-ruler. And when it's happy with one of its favorite signs of Aries, that's good for you too. It's sort of like, the rising tide floats all boats type of thing. So for you, Scorpio, the focus for you with Mars in Aries is very much about, again, like incorporating new routines. Just don't think about it too much. Just go for it. And new healthy routines and focus on you. Scorpio is a sign that focuses on others. And, if there's loyalty or the connection there and trust there for Scorpio, it really is a very, very strong loyalty. But now it's time for Scorpio to focus on themselves. So Scorpio, for you, it's mental, physical, spiritual, emotional health, whatever that is for you. Put you first. You have a very strong amount of willpower, and this energy of Mars in Aries and also, Venus in Gemini allows sort of like that flexibility and adaptability to incorporate those new routines and new ways of being. Now, for Sagittarius, Sagittarius is a fire sign. And so with Mars in Aries, this is great news for you. And that's sort of like the rule of astrology. It's like if you're of the same element, this is really good. So it gives Sagittarius an extra boost with Mars in Aries. And so Sagittarius, it's good for bringing out the creativity or taking some sort of calculated risk of some type. If you're a single Sagittarian, this is fantastic news for you because Venus in Gemini, it's all about relationships. It's all about moving forward. It's all about taking a walk on the wild side in some ways with Mars in Aries. So it's about having fun, I think, is like the bottom line, and having fun when it comes to, connecting with others in some way. And for Capricorn, so this focus with Mars in Aries will be about, if you're thinking about moving, it's sort of an unusual time to be moving given the external circumstances, but, some of us are forced to move during this time. You might find that, a move or redoing something in the home or something about the home and family at this time. But take care within the family dynamic if you are Capricorn, because you might find with the energy of Venus and Mars at this time, especially with the lunar eclipse coming up next weekend in your sign, something might come to the surface or something might be revealed within a family dynamic type of situation. Be careful of competition with other family members. But, the good news is that once things do come to the surface for Capricorn, they can be released. It's good to get feelings off your chest at this time, especially with that Mercury retrograde, because it's all about someone else saying something to you or somebody, something being misunderstood. Now, if you're an Aquarius during this very passionate Mars in Aries energy and Venus in Gemini, it really is about communication. And yes, Mercury is retrograde at this time, but it really is about communication and getting your point across. But again, don't just dive into something. Make sure there's facts behind the things that you're saying, because, you know, others might get a bit prickly about your viewpoint, or others might think that you, Aquarius, is sort of like persuading people a bit too much or a bit too forcefully because of that warrior energy of Mars in Aries. And then finally, for Pisces, so Mars in Aries activates your finance zone. So what that means for you is, when it comes to finances through the end of the year, don't be a risk taker. It's really important that you have your facts and figures lined up before you make any sort of major financial decision. That's going to be very important for Pisces, is to really take a step back and see what it is that you value and what's important to you before making any sort of like investment.
Okay, very good to know. And so I've been reading a couple of comments here, and Colette asked, will we be reviewing all of the signs? And yes, we did review all of the signs. And so this is going to be live wherever you're watching it, either on Facebook or YouTube. And so definitely go and you can start the video over as soon as this is done, because Kelli has shared a lot of really interesting information talking about Venus and Mars. And then we went deep into what it means for each of the sun signs. And then I also see Nancy says, are Aries and Gemini a good match? And
Yes.
What I've learned, I'd say yes, because every second sign matches up really well. So that's a good rule of thumb for all of you people who are not professional astrologers.
They're a great match. Yes, they're a great match. And also, you know, Aries is a fire sign and Gemini is an air sign. So fire and air go well together, as do earth and water.
Awesome. Wonderful. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything that you did today, Kelli. And thank you to everyone who joined us. Make sure that you share this with friends who will find it useful. I know it's interesting, the signs that stand out. Today, I'm going to reach out to my Taurus friends because that really stood out to me. We're sharing what this means for them. And then make sure that you get your free romantic forecast. And so Kelli has, she has incredible reports and she provides so much information. So definitely head over to astrology.tv. The link is also included in the bio. And we're going to see you guys next week. And next week, we're moving into a new month. We've got a lunar eclipse. There's a lot on the horizon. So I'm really excited for your July forecast and more.
Thank you, Leanne. And thank you, everyone. And yes, look at your rising sign too, Casey. Bye.
Wonderful. Bye.